Hi guys, we are about to work on our very beautiful Andrea Fairservice landscape. So we're first going to go through all of our supplies and make sure they're ready. If you have not watched the previous video learning about the artist that we will be inspired by today, please go and watch that first. The link is in the comments, and have all of your supplies ready to go. So we are going to move into our lesson right now. This is the painting we will be doing. I'm going to move that a little bit out of our way. And the first thing we want to do is grab some tape. So you will need masking tape or painter's tape or frog tape. Those all work great. What doesn't work great is duct tape or scotch tape. Those are not going to be a good selection. So first we want to tape down on something like a piece of cardboard backing to a legal pad, or in the back of construction paper sometimes there's a piece of cardboard. Anything that you might have that would be a good surface, so that as we're painting and using water, our paper will not get rumpled. And then we're going to come in here and make sure your hands are clean. You can watch this first and then come back and actually do the lesson, but I put the tape down and then seal it across. And then I'm going to turn my paper and get another strip of tape. What's great about taping off like this and using a different surface is that watercolor sometimes takes a while to dry between layers. And so you can be working on a few pieces at a time and just move one aside and bring another one in front of you that you need to keep working on. It's a lot of fun to paint like that. So get your border taped down. This will help our paper stay nice and tight when it gets wet. It won't rumple up and get wavy, and it'll help it to not do that. Like sometimes it does that in the art room because we don't typically tape down our work. So maybe we'll start doing that when we get to come back to school again. So, okay, so now I have taped down my paper, and then the next thing that I want to do is come in and we're gonna grab a pencil and we're just gonna make a quick horizon line. So as we're looking at our example, you can toggle back and forth between the first video and pause it and look at it. But we just have a very small horizon line down here from her half dome painting. So you can also find it on Instagram, andrea.fairservice. This is half dome. I think it was a post from like January of 2019. So we're gonna just make a very faint horizon line. So most of the painting is gonna be sky with these beautiful leaves and flowers. So I'm going to come up, I don't know, about this high and start lightly sketching in my mountain range. And I want this peak here to be lower than that. And I'm just going to come up and over and down. And then this is going to come almost, it kind of looks like an ocean wave. And then we'll crawl it back up to that one. So there we go. We just have a very basic horizon line. That's all we're gonna do. Then you can put your pencil back up. It's good to have a very clean work surface. So like I'm finished with my tape, I'm gonna get it up out of the way so that it is not taking up my surface. And then the next thing we want to do is do some color mixing so that we're ready to go when we're ready to paint. So if you have a white plate, that is great. Any plate is fine, but a white plate is really the best because you can see the true color here. And then if you picked up the supplies last Monday from school for the go home packs, there would have been this core watercolor card. Azel Art Supply was just fantastic and gave us all kinds of paints, and really care about you kids getting to continue doing artwork while you are home on seclusion, I guess. So we will take out this piece of paper. I do want to, at the end, ask you guys if once you've done this lesson, if you will draw like a butterfly on here, everybody, and paint your theme of your artwork. Like for 3rd grade, I have them doing their artist. So if you can draw a butterfly in here and then use the inspiration from this to paint a butterfly, and if you can take a picture of that as well, then we can go ahead and do some fun piece of art at the end of the year with all of these butterflies, just to reflect hope and change and a lot of encouraging things. So save that nice piece of watercolor paper and set it aside. It's definitely a nice piece of paper. So this is our palette that we're going to work with today. I'm going to grab a paintbrush. I don't really want, well, I'll use that one, that's fine. So we have a teal, a gold, that's a green gold, a yellow, orange, magenta, and purple. But they might not actually look like that so much on the card as once you get them wet. So I'm gonna go ahead and stick with my 6. We did send home paintbrushes as well. If it is, we just had to pull from stock. So if that isn't a good paintbrush for you and you have others as a backup, please go ahead and use the paintbrushes that you like. If you did not pick up the pack, use any supplies that you have, whether it's crayons or markers or oil pastels, chalks, another kind of paint like acrylic. You can water down to act like watercolor. It just will dry a little bit differently, but you could even do that. So use whatever you have. The most important thing is to make art. So if you do need any supplies, we would really love thank yous to John at Azel, the manager, for all of this that he put together for us to help us to be able to do art while we are distance learning. So if you give them a call, I'm sure y'all could place an order and just pick up. So I always have 2 different jars of water, one for my warm colors and one for my cool colors. So I'm going to start wetting my palette here just so I can see what my colors are going to look like. I don't want to get a lot. I just want to see what they're going to look like on here. Every time you switch colors, you want to rinse. So this is kind of a green gold. This is going to be much more bright yellow. And since Andrea Fairservice paints very, very bright, we want to have very bright paint. There's an orange. So the dot on the dot card looks nothing like the color of the paint as it actually comes out. And then here's a very bright purple. So this is very, oops, I put it in the wrong one. So rinse and warm and rinse and cool. And that keeps your paint from, your water from getting muddy. And when you have muddy water and then you come back and pick up color again, it'll make all your colors brown, and you don't want to have that happen. So when you rinse warm colors in one jar and cool colors in another jar, you will have a much cleaner palette. Your colors will stay more true to form, which is what we really want. So next we're going to mix some of our colors so that we have a very wide range of colors, and we definitely want to use our paint sparingly. We don't want to overuse our paint. So the first thing I'm going to mix is some magenta and some orange here. So I'm going to pick up some water in my brush and get that a little bit wet. And then I'm just going to start coming over the edge of my plate and getting that on here, just scraping it off my bristles. Might get a little more water to get some of that off. Just keep coming and picking it up so that the paint dot itself doesn't stay wet. So I'm going to do some magenta and some orange. So this is our magenta. I'll get a little bit of water on there. Get this onto our paper so that we can start mixing our colors together. And this is going to give me kind of an orangey red, much more vibrant color than that lighter orange. I still want to add a little bit more magenta to that, but I don't want to use it all up. So be very sparing in how you use it. Don't keep swiping across So the cool thing about watercolor is once you have made it on your plate, even if it dries, you can re-wet it, which is what I love about watercolor. Paint does not get wasted. So I'm going to continue to kind of scrape off my brush, get as much of that pigment off my brush as I can, and then rinse. And then I'm going to move to my next mixture. I want to take some of this purple. These are colors we're going to need in our art. So I'll take some of this purple and pick it up. Some more of this purple and pick it up. And once we have these colors mixed and ready, we'll be able to use them throughout our whole painting. So I'm just not touching that dot in the middle. I'm just picking up the part that has come off the edges. So the purple, I'm going to keep scraping there until it all comes off. Cool, rinse that in cool. Then I'm going to mix it with some of this teal. I need a pretty blue, and so I'm mixing these together. Helps me get like a pretty blue background to use in the art. I don't have all the colors on this dot card, and if you ended up with a dot card that has a lot more fall colors to it, just do a fall scene. Use the same dots as we're mixing and have a fun time coming up with something a little bit more wintry. Or you can get your own paints. You can order paint. Even, I'm sure any of the shipping places can get you a watercolor set from Praying or Crayola or anybody. Anything is good, just as long as you've got some supplies to do artwork with. We will continue doing this into next month. So that's not as blue as I would like it to be, so I'm going to add a little bit more blue, but I'm trying not to use up too much of that blue dot of paint. It should go a very long way, this core paint. The Q-O-R is pronounced core, like C-O-R-E. Okay, so here's a more bluish periwinkle kind of color that'll be fun. Okay, so I'm gonna leave that, scrape off anything I can get off my bristles so that I'm not wasting paint. Rinse my brush. I want to mix some of this purple. So bring that over here again. I want to mix some of this purple and the magenta so I get a little bit deeper purple. So that purple with this magenta. Mix that together and get a bit of a different colored purple. We want to have a lot of variations of color for this piece of art. And then we'll do some purple with yellow because they are complementary colors. On the color wheel, anytime a color is across from something, those two combined are going to turn to a darker brown or black. And so we are going to need some of that later on for outlining. So I'll mix that darker purple, rinse it really good, and then I'm going to come pick up some of this yellow. It's going to give me like a blackish purple shade, which will be really pretty to stay. Instead of just using straight up black to make your own black, it's so much better because you end up with something that's actually in the color family you're working in, and it picks up those hues. That turned kind of brown, so I'll probably add a little bit more purple to it. But that's a great way to get your own black and mix your own colors together instead of using straight black that isn't in the color pattern that you're doing. So, oh, I really like that. So it's like a dark brownish purple, and that'll go really good with our mountains. Okay, so those are the colors that I have mixed, and now we're gonna keep going. Let me move this up out of my way a little bit where I can still reach it. I have a very small workspace today. I move my glasses up a little bit. Okay, so there we go. Now we're ready to go. So the next thing that we're gonna do is we need to wet our paper. If you don't have, like I have this big soft brush that I can use to wet my paper. If you don't have something like this, just get a soft paper towel and dip it in and go back and forth with your paper towel, just like I'm gonna do with my brush. Just don't do it too heavy and don't scrub it, because it'll start to make the paper disintegrate and pill up, and we definitely don't want that to happen. So keep your paper towel close by in the event that you need to dry it off some, or see if you have color on your brush still. We don't want to have color on our brush that we're not using. So I'm going to get some clean water. I have another jar that I use just to have clean water that doesn't have any pigment mixed in it at all. And I'm going to begin to wet my surface, and I'm going to go left to right all the way down, left to right. Then I'm going to come from the top to the bottom, and this is going to be called wet and wet, or wet on wet technique. And what we're going to do with this is drop in a lot of color and watch it move around. It won't be such meticulous line work. It will be very smooth and flowing. So I'm going to get as much water as I can, and then look at it from the side and just make sure I've got a good amount of water so my paper stays wet while I'm working from the top to the bottom. And then we're going to have to work kind of quick as we start dropping in these colors. So that's good. I'm going to dry my brush off a little bit and put it away and pick up the brush I'm working with. And we're going to start right here at the top in this sun area. So I need some really bright yellow. So I want it to have a lot of water in it, and I'm going to come right up here and drop this in. I want to keep the center kind of white. If you need to blow it a little bit to make it come out, you can do that. Then I'm going to take some this orange. Orange sometimes will kind of try to push its way in on yellow, so you might need to give it a little puff again just to get it to move out. And we want to work quickly so we don't end up with our paint drying before we're moving to the next thing. So I'm just going around this color wheel here, adding in, dropping it in. I'm not really painting with strokes. I'm just dropping in my color. So it's kind of like a beautiful, beautiful sun peeking through the clouds, and then we'll add our ornamental stuff later. Okay, so then next I'm going to move into this purpley color a little bit. Drop that in around the edges. I love watching them move together. And this outer part is going to be a little darker. The inner part's going to be lighter, so I'm not really mixing any of this here. Now I'm going to start with some of this blue. And I want to have quite a bit of water on my brush as I come in and drop in this blue. If you need to pause along the way, please do. Just pause the video. You can double click on the left-hand side of the screen to back it up quickly. It'll go back about 10 seconds or so. You can hit that if you need to back up. You can watch the video all the way through once so you understand what I'm doing. I'm also not really taking this into the center yet. This is very light in the center of hers, so I'm trying to, and down here there's a lot more white showing, so I'm trying to stick with her pattern here since she is our inspiration, and I love what is happening on here. Wow, it's so fun. So I'm just kind of shimmying my brush around, and then in the center I'll start to drag some of this in with just clean water. So it starts to blend in here together, but not a lot of color in the middle. Now I'm gonna look here at my example and see if there's anything else. You can blow in the center of your sun a little bit to push some of that out. I'm not really liking the way this is pooling up right here. So if you dry your brush off, you can just stick it in that puddle and pick it up a little bit and then do some dabbing in that spot just to kind of pick up some of that water that's pooling in the, this is why taping your paper down is so great, but we'll end up painting over that anyways. So this is perfect. I'm gonna take a little bit of this darker blue teal and get some darker stuff going on the edges here. Get some of that going on this side. And I'm just dotting it in and letting it move into its own space, wherever it wants to be. Come and get some of this magenta. Maybe drop some of that in here where I'm gonna have some brighter flowers in a little bit. Just let it move around. This is what I love about watercolor. It's just magical, the things that it does all on its own. I might end up with a puddle right there, and I really don't want one, so I'm just gonna tap that out in that direction and then let it merge back together. Okay, so I'm gonna leave that alone a minute as my base layer. I can't really see anywhere else that I would like to add color in. I can even stand up and take a look at it from a little bit higher up and see if there's anywhere that I think I need to drop in some more color while I'm still working with a little bit of wet paper. So I think I kind of might like to have some lighter purple here, maybe kind of in this vicinity, drop in some purple and some more over here. I'll just get some going in purple. You decide how you want to do your art. And drop in color right where you think you're gonna want it to be. And then we'll let all of that dry really well. This is gonna be such a beautiful piece of art. I cannot wait to see you guys finish and then post it on social media. All the instructions for that will be in the bottom in the notes. Okay. So while that begins to dry, I'm gonna get down here into my mountain area, and I'm gonna need this to be like a lighter blue. So I'm gonna mix these back together. For some reason, this core paint definitely separates. And then I want it, so this is gonna be too dark, but what I want you to see is as I come from the side of this mountain, it's way too dark, and I don't like that. So I'm gonna add some water to my brush. Leave some of this snow peak up here where there's white areas, leave some white areas in, and then carry your color down as your base color, but leave some areas of white so you can see where the snow would be. If you painted over it, you can dry your brush off some and just come and pick up the paint where you would like to have some white show. Don't overwork it too much, but you can use that to get some lighter areas. Just dry your brush off real good. So I'm going to do that all the way about to this point here where it makes kind of a drop off. And I even like the way it's starting to move up from here above the line where those little trees are off in the distance. That's really pretty. So okay, so I'm going to move this around. I'm going to stay down here where this snow all needs to be, and then come across here and carry that along. This is all going to need to be darker. So as you're going, just pause. Anytime you need to pause and catch up, this is great. You won't be told, oh guys, we only have 15 minutes left, and everybody starts to get stressed out when it's time to be finished. And so we won't really have that problem doing this on video. So that's kind of fun, and I cannot wait to see your work and how it turns out. Okay, so that's just a good base layer wash to be light underneath all of this. I'm not going to add in any of this yellowy color yet, I don't think, until I get a little bit drier, but I can add in, maybe I can, let me see if I can mix that. Maybe some yellow and some orange just to get a light peachy color, and then add water to it so it's very light. Can y'all see how this is just very watery? I don't want to have my orangey, light orangey color be too dark. So then I can come here and leave a white section up here and just kind of dot this in as a base color underneath. I just don't want to mix it with my blue because complementary colors, blue, oh, I guess that would, and it's still going to turn brown. So we don't want to have them touch. We want to be real careful to leave them separated. That'll be a really good base. And I'm going to leave some areas where it's just pretty solid white for snow. So like purple and yellow are complementary colors, and when they touch and you mix them together, they turn to a brown. Oops, can you see what I did there? This little ledge should be pretty much white. So I'm gonna dry my brush off and then come and pick that up. Press into it and pick it up so I keep that snow ledge there. And I don't want that to get too dark. So, all right, so now you can see this part is kind of starting to dry up here. This I can probably still work on a little bit and let that dry because I really want this to be dry. We've done wet on wet, and then we'll move into wet on dry up here. So while that continues to dry, I'm going to continue to drop in more blue down here, get some more base layers going on. So here it gets a little darker. Need to probably make me a little bit more of that blue that I have. So anytime you need to pause the video just to go at your own pace, turn on some nice relaxing music like we always have when we're in the art room, and just enjoy your time painting. That is too purple still. I'm going to rinse my brush every time I put it back on my sample dot card. I don't want to mix my colors together. So you have to waste a lot of paint to clean it up later. So, okay, so here we go. Now I'm getting more of a blue. It's still kind of purple, but it's getting a little more blue. So I just kind of barely tap the actual dot of paint and let the water rush over it. And then I just pick up the water with my brush and drop it onto my plate. I just let it soak it up like a thirsty brush. Okay, here we go. Definitely a better blue. So I'm going to start to just come in here with some of these additional layers under here and drop this in. Use this just like you see in the picture. You can do layer by layer. We always work from lightest to darkest in watercolor. If you start with dark watercolor, you won't get any other paint ever laid down. You wouldn't be able to see it anymore. So these are some base layers I'm going to get in with some good color. Try to remember to leave that little snow bit there. Maybe come up in here with this to accentuate that little snow bit and that little snow bit. And I'm not going to worry about how the top of this looks because later on I'm going to end up covering it up with purple anyways. Okay, and I'm gonna get some color down in here so my trees are not super see-through later. Well, I just keep letting that top portion dry. So y'all just pause the video as you go. Every time you need to pause it and catch up, it's totally fine to do that. All right, I think I like what's happening here. It will all end up coming together. So this is starting to look good. I still have a little bit of a wet section right there. Give it a couple more minutes of drying. See if I can drop any more of a blue color in. Might even try to just drop some straight teal in right down in this one section. I don't want my brush to be too wet. Just be real careful not to use up your paint too fast. Yeah, I'm gonna put some teal in over here and maybe some right up along this ridge. Just dab it in. Dab that in. And let it just find its way down. That'll be fun for a base layer color. Okay, so the next thing we're gonna do is move into, ooh, I need to make that stop before it mixes in with my, see how I just pick up the paint, move it somewhere else. Pick it up and move it somewhere else. Just don't want it to blend in, and I might even have to stop it with my paper towel. Just so it won't keep bleeding into my pink. My magenta color. Get that to quit. Ah, there it goes again, guys. Y'all, it's no different than class. I still do dorky stuff all the time. All right, y'all will have to let me know if you like doing remote learning. Okay, so as this is drying and all spreading out and doing its own thing, you can use a hair dryer if you want to. I might just blow dry this just for a second so that I've got some good working area. Just on the top part. Okay, I don't put heat on it, I just do it cool, but at least I have a little bit more dry paper up here. So now we're gonna move into our wet on dry. So we'll use the wet paint and dry paper. And we're gonna start up here doing these flowers. So I'm gonna start with, I think probably this orange and magenta that we have made earlier. That was really red. Let me get some more orange going here, mixed with my yellow. Get some more yellow. And pick up a little bit more red and pull it over. So I have an orange. And then I'm just gonna use my brush and press it in to just make some petals. I'm not gonna do a lot of moving around. You don't have to do it exactly like her picture. You just want to have some really pretty colors starting to make these wreaths, these bands of leaves around. She uses such bright, fun colors in all of her artwork. So let this part be just nice and therapeutic and relaxing. And wherever you want to build up on, I try to go through and find, if I'm starting with orange, Then I try to go through and find my way where I'm going to want it to go for the most part and stick with that one color, so I'm not rinsing my brush a lot and wasting paint. And I always try to start with the lighter colors and work my way into the darker colors. So this is going to be a really, really fun one here. Some of these are bigger, so I'm going to make them bigger. Some of them are growing larger. If you need to add a little bit more water, if your paint's drying up, you can do that. This one is really big right here. So just angle your brush and bring it to a tip like a leaf. We'll do some fun shapes and little swishes and just have fun with this part. She's such a beautiful artist. I hope you guys enjoyed learning about her and seeing all of the fun colors that she uses, and just try to stick with orange all the way down and get a pattern going. Anywhere that you see it. And later on, we can come back in with whatever color we choose to do next. And keep our layers going. Okay, so here I'm gonna come in here. I'd love to see if you get your parents involved in doing art with you. So just make leaves, use the pointy part of your brush, and we'll end up working off of all of this and building up. Probably should come that way so it comes to a tip. You can flick them out if you want to have some longer ones. You can bring them together. You can let them touch and bleed into one another. And mostly that's reds and yellows. I see a little bit of a peachy orange, really light down here. So in the middle, there's a whole lot of really light colors. So we want to try to stick with that theme that she has. So I've got this swirl beginning, and I've got the orange up here. I've got this orange. I've got this beginning and coming up around here. There's probably a little more right there. So just some real light shades that we can use. Okay, so I'm done with that. I think next I'm going to move into some yellows and get those yellows in. So up here I might see a tiny bit of yellow. And as I come down, I start to see a little bit more of some yellow shades. So it's neat to watch them touch each other and kind of mix their color together a little bit. You can flick it on here. You can come up like that and share them. I'm not going right into my paint. I am actually using the water as it falls down off the edge. So this has quite a bit of yellow coming in right here. So I'm going to use as much yellow up here as I can. So just keep adding in yellow all the way down. Super fun. Okay, so now I'm in here. There's some little yellow pieces coming in here. Here's some, I keep touching the screen. I'm gonna wet this a little bit so there's some more water and it's a little lighter. There's quite a few yellow. My paper isn't quite as tall as hers, so I'm kind of combining ideas from these two because they're pretty similar. And I love watching them mix together while they're still wet. So that kind of goes into wet on wet. Okay. So we've got quite a bit of yellow going in here. Now I'm going to move into this magenta color. Take a little bit of this magenta and get that going. Okay, so here we go. I'm going to start up at the top again, and I'm going to come and make that beautiful bigger leaf. I've got this more with some kind of dots right there. Get some this is more like that magenta and purple pink that we mixed together, so I think I might move to that. Add just a little bit more. So use your own creativity. I know so many of you are fantastic artists and you have your own flair and your own style. So once you get the hang of this, then you eyeball it the way you think it should be. Drop in a little bit of that color into these just to darken them up a little bit. And then keep going here. I've got this just kind of flinging out. And I've got, I can see where there's like a vine dot. She kind of has some things coming together like this. You can just do little flicks for leaves. And then that neat, it's trying to mix together even right there. That's so fun. Okay, so then I'm going to move into, this is going to come around this way. This one I'm going to have be this one right here. So I'm going to get some more of this purple color and start to drop that in. And just use your own ideas and your own inspiration as you're doing this. Then it gets kind of lighter down here. So I want to add more water so I can have it be lighter, not have it be so dark as I'm coming on this bottom side. Even up here, some of it's really light, so I'm going to add really light leaves also as I bring them in. So I'm just coming like either one stroke around, or I can do one stroke here like this, or I can do two. So just enjoy the process of painting this. If you go over another color, it is not a big deal at all. I do want this to have a little bit lighter feel to it, so I'm going to try to dab that up a little bit in the middle so the middle stays a little lighter. I got it too dark. Just keep working on your petals as you go around. Make sure if your yellow is still wet to be careful with that, because it will mix with your yellow and become brown, since they are complementary colors. All right. And then I'll move on to down here a little bit. So for this one, I've kind of combined these two on my paper just because we don't have a huge tall piece of paper like she has to be able to do like 3 of them. So there's a whole lot more purple on this side. So you can drop it in. have fun with what you're making. If you have the darker palette, then just do all of this with fun, darker, wintry fall colors. Not a problem. If you need help with how to mix colors, you can either look them up online or you can message me on Instagram. I'd be happy to help you. Kimberly Sentner. Just message me and I'll be happy to help you. Oh, this is so cool how this has all started mixing together. So we've got a lot of little light purple dudes going on over here. Okay, and then I'm gonna come in here. So I'd really like to just stick with one color as I'm coming around. I think it helps me especially. That's too light, but I do want to add some more water here, dry it off some, and add some water here just to get this kind of squiggly thing she's got going on in here. And some of this over here too. Kind of looks like mountain range off in the distance. Okay, so now I'm gonna move to teal just to get some cooler color coming in. Get some more water down on my palette. Okay, so I'm gonna start up here with this lighter teal up here and just start to press it in. Make little leaves all in little bunches, some bigger and some smaller. If it's too washed out, you can drop in some more color. You can flick some out like this. I do want these to be really fun. This is my favorite color, so I think I will probably fill it up pretty good with this paint. You can keep working on this, and I'm posting 6 lessons from kinder all the way through 5th grade. So if there is a lesson that is in another grade that you really would like to do, by all means do it. It would be wonderful to see all of our students doing all kinds of art during your time away. It was really sweet that Miss Campos and Miss Johnson had posted that they were missing you guys up at school so badly. And so they were saying it's just so quiet in the halls without the kids and we miss them being here. This is the cutest Facebook post. And then they had just this wonderful aha moment and they were like, they're still here. Their art is all in the hallway, and they posted y'all's art that's hanging up in the hallways, and it just made them feel a whole lot better. So very sweet. I love that your art is still there to encourage them and lift them up. So just keep working on your leaves, and you can even come off of the stem like that. Just have a lot of fun with it until you end up with these like 3 swishy swirls. This teal seems to be a lot more prevalent up here in this front. I don't want to go right over my sun with it. So I'll come here. And the most of the teal pretty much seems to be over here. Okay, I definitely want to start in now with, no, I didn't finish teal down here. Let me keep doing that, stick with what I'm on. But I did mix the purple here. I think that's how I moved in a different direction that I shouldn't have moved in yet. Okay, so I'm gonna keep working with teal. It's a beautiful color of teal. I'd come over here and get some swatches in here. And in here where we have some of, this is gonna have some blue and teal mixed all in. So see how cool that is when they mix together like that? Don't worry about it if they touch and they do some mixing of color. It's absolutely fantastic. Okay, there is a little bit of a movement in here. I'm going to end up lightening this up some as I make these little dots. Then I'll wet it better just to kind of smooth it out. Really, really beautiful. Okay, and then anything on the right, I see it looks a little bit darker over here, more like this teal and purple mixture. So just keep on applying layers as you go. You can tap in some little cloudy things over here, makes it look like mountain ranges off in the distance. Okay, so I'm going to move into this darker color now. I need to make me some more again. Just want to conserve that purple because I'm going to need a lot of it down here at the bottom. So can you guys see the benefits of using a plate? You can see all the color that you're painting. You can let it dry a little bit, saves on paint a lot. See if I can get that any more blue than it already is. I really miss being at school with you guys, I'll tell you that. I know all of us do, so I really hope you will post your work online and we can all encourage each other. Okay, it's not going to be the darkest blue. I can't really get a super dark blue, so I'm going to pretend that this is my darker blue and start to plug it in up here where it's very dark up here. And it's pretty thick. So I'm going to just let it move wherever it wants as I start to mesh it in with what I've already laid down. I love to watch them mix. Put some of that up over here. Okay, coming down, here's some darker in here. So anywhere that darker blue color is, I'm just going to try to drop some of that in here. Keep pausing the video as you need to. I really like that color a lot. Almost looks like bluebonnets as it's mixing together up here. Okay, so I'm going to make a little bit of another leaf thing out this way just to try to get some different variations of pattern. So just have fun with it and work with what you've got and enjoy it, and bring some down here. It's very fun to be inspired by this artist. She uses such vivid colors and a fantastic imagination, and she has been so much fun to watch on social media and learn about. Okay, so I think I'll go with some more yellow, but just really, really light in some of these areas to kind of join them in a little bit. So it kind of looks like it's swirling off of here. Just gonna kind of use my own eye now and see what comes out to me, and layer some things a little bit. Okay. Next color I might want to move into, we've got this real hot pink red color, so I think I'm going to go lift that now that we made earlier and start to drop that in some really bright places where this real bright red is. Start to bring those, I might darken that up a little bit. Can y'all see how my water is not getting brown and muddy? Like when you guys are in the classroom and we're doing our art and you're all sharing and you're sharing the water and mixing it all together, it all ends up getting really muddy and just keep dropping in your colors. I'm going to try to make me kind of a darker red in a minute because this is still looking pretty orange. So as we get in here, it starts to really get fun and bright. So I'm just going to layer to keep that wreath shape going. I love the way some of these have blended together. And I just like to lay my brush over and let the shape of the brush make my petals when I need them to be small. When I need them to be a little bigger, I'll use the tip and go around. But otherwise, I just like to kind of lay it down and let it be small. Okay, guys, as you are working on yours, make sure that you can see when you step back a little bit, just a really good variation of colors, that it all mixes together well. There's not a lot of orange down here, it kind of gets in up here, so I'll keep adding some more orange little wispies up here. Little fun patterns, and maybe come in then with some more water to lighten this up a few shades. Be able to lay a little bit down that's not so dark. Have it be more along the lines of a peach. Okay, and then I think I'll move into some magenta now, just straight up magenta. While we're still, I think our bottom is getting dry enough that we're about to be able to work down there. Just gonna drop in some pops of some pretty bright magenta. Can you believe how that little bitty dot of paint has been able to paint this much on your painting? I just think that's so cool how watercolor goes a long way, which is why it's a great travel if you want to do what the artists do in open air painting, which the French call plein air, P-L-E-I-N. I taught you about that in your lesson. You can take supplies like this and go sit in your backyard and look at some leaves, or look at a scene, or even go back to a memory of a vacation you've been on, and really paint right there live while you're outside in the fresh air, when you guys as a family get outside and go for a walk or something. This is a great way to paint. And I tried to pick lessons that would make you guys at least feel like you're bright and colorful and outside. Not okay, so as we get, oh, I love how some of these are just mixing together so beautifully. Okay, I think I'm gonna kind of wrap it up on the top and see how that dries, and then I'll look in a little bit and see if there's anywhere else I want to add. Like I can kind of tell right here, I might like to add a little bit more yellow, but not that bright. I want it to be much more watered down, just in some of these. Okay guys, so I'm gonna give that a break for a little bit. There are some fun little areas I forgot to poke in of this magenta color and this purple color down here, like little wispy dots that are kind of coming through like confetti, but it's still a little too wet right there to be able to do that. So I don't want them to turn into blobs. I want them to be like little confetti wispies. I can probably get some of them in here, maybe a few up in here. But see how they're blending in like that right there? It's not really what I wanted. So if I can find some dry spots almost, but I'm gonna dab that up because I don't like it. So you can use the corner of your paper towel just to dab some of that up a little bit. Okay, so now I'm gonna move into the details of my mountain down here. So we need a pretty dark purple and a medium purple. So I'm gonna start with this medium purple that I had mixed earlier between the purple and the magenta to get kind of a medium purple going. And I'm gonna just come up here to the top of the mountain that it has this little line. I'm gonna outline my snow cap and then just start to kind of fill this in with lighter purple. Make this, whatever this is doing here, to come down underneath my snow. So just start outlining. get it a little bit more wet so that I can do some of this shading over here. So there's some kind of purpley edge at the top here with some little trails. And this is going to be where the snow cap kind of comes down to here. And I need some of this lavender color coming down here. A little bit more coming down this way. And these kind of join up. And then we've got this snow coming here. So I'll add in some more of this magenta over here. Okay. And leaving some of that white exposed for snow, and I might have done too much and need to pick some of it up. While that dries a little bit, I'm going to come in here and start doing some more of this lighter lavender color around over this blue that I did earlier, so that it shows through more of that beautiful purple color. So we're gonna come down. It has some edge to it as it comes down. Get that going. Then I'm going to get some of this darker blue that I made up here. See, when it dries, you can wet it again and mix it up again and get it working. So no big deal. And I'm going to come and just make some lines down so I have that other color showing through, and then I'll let that blend a little bit. You can do however you want your colors to be. You should have the hang of this now with mixing, and this is a beautiful lesson. Okay, so that's good. So then I can come in with the darker purple. And I want to be more careful with this with the tip of my brush and make sure that I'm real careful how I add this in, because this is going to be another darker layer, and I'm just going to kind of tap it in right here like it is in the picture. Come down. I love our inspiration artist. She's so talented using all these bright, vivid colors. So if you guys have a chance, go on to her. I think she's pretty active on Instagram, and just check out her beautiful artwork and get inspired by some other pieces of hers and paint them. And I'm going to come in with some more of this darker purple over here and bleed it in as we're coming down. Let that dry a little bit while I start to move into making some trees. So I'm just, here's how you're going to make a tree. So look closely. I'm going to get some darker purple. I want my brush to not be super, super wet, but I do want it dark. And I'm going to get the pointy tip of my brush, and I'll make a line down, and then I'll just flick up like this for my trees. Or you can do your brush straight up and down and just get wider as you go down like that. Then do one a little bit lower and come out. If you hold your brush up and down, then it's easier just to come out from here. Add a little bit more water to this. It's a little too thick. Do another small one, going back and forth. If you want them to be kind of blended together and messy, you can just go back and forth like that. And if you don't want them so detailed, you can just swish your brush like an upside down C back and forth. So take your brush and just up, down, up, down. Up, down, up, down. Make them different heights. Kind of back and forth like a little X. Okay, and then I'm going to come, as I get over here to this spot, there isn't a lot showing here. I've got 1, 2, 3. And just very carefully put them. Then we're going to get lower again. Just come in. We'll have to layer these a few times. So I'm going just to keep going, but once you need to pause it, you pause and then pick up again. I love that we can do this on distance learning because we don't have to hurry in an hour to be finished. That's fantastic. This one's much taller. This one. Just flick your brush back and forth. And then this one, well, we've got maybe 1 or 2 more that are kind of spaced out down here, and then they start to get much taller. So I'm up over the ridge for this one, and then a little bit taller than that for this one. Amazing how much this paint lasts. I'm so happy. Okay, so we'll try to get some that are a little bit darker. Then this one's even taller. I'm going to come up here. Probably made mine a whole lot wider than hers are, but that's okay. It's art. So just enjoy what you're doing. And we'll get a little bit shorter again over here. Okay. What I love here too is that there seems to be some red that is poking in here. So I'm going to try to make me some red again, mixing my pink with this orange, and let's see if we can't get some more red again. And then let me get some more orange here. So I have a good red. I do want it to be a little bit darker than that. And then I can come and drop some red in here in these wet places and watch what it does. Okay, so the next thing I'm going to do is start back over at my mountain, and I'm going to get into some of this darker color here and add a little bit of purple into it to darken it up a little bit more. Have a bit of a purple hue. If it's dried up, that's okay. You just get your brush wet and get it in there again, and it will mix around again. That's why I keep lots of plates going. And then I'm going to start adding in these additional details up here, coming around here. I still feel like I need that to be darker. Come down and start to Keep these areas that are darker going. And some up here is darker. And we'll come into this area with some that's darker just to outline this. And in an effort to keep this video from going on forever, I'm going to go ahead and close out pretty soon, so that you know what to do when you get finished. So you can keep adding in some trees that are darker in front of these. And as you go through, that would really be all I have to do, that I would continue to do, is just add in some darker spots. Some of these little trees are along this ridge up here. Get some darker trees in front of these. You can layer them on top of there. So once you get finished, I do want to show you how to peel your tape, but I'm pretty happy with this. I might add in some additional things, like some light lines of purple here in my snow, just to get some different angles here around this mountain. But otherwise, I think I feel really good about what I've done, and I feel finished. So I want you to be able to work as long as you need to, and then when you're finished, if you would take a picture of it and post it on Instagram or Facebook or both. If you would use the hashtag #SaddleUpMavs and hashtag Rooted Oak Meadow, like this video at the bottom. All the directions are in the notes. Make sure to clean your brush really well, and then I'm going to show you how to peel tape. This is super important, the last 2 steps here. Peel, and don't forget to do your butterfly with the Andrea Fairservice theme, her style. So peeling tape, the first thing you're going to do is get one of your edges up, and then I hold my finger there as I peel over. So I have my tape at an angle and it's totally flat on the surface. I'm not holding it up and pulling like that. I have a better chance of ripping my paper if I do that. So I just go really, really slow and peel it back at an angle. And once I have that one off, then I move to my next piece. I don't care if I tear my cardboard, but I do not want to have a tear in my white paper. So it gives this beautiful, crisp watercolor artist edge to your work. Isn't that beautiful? So pretty. And we'll peel this one on this side. All the way down, just keep it flat and at an angle. All the way down. And last part. Now mine is still wet, so don't do this until yours is completely dry. I just want to make sure that you know how to peel the tape off gently and slowly at this bent angle. And when you are finished, the very last thing you need to do is grab a pencil, and you need to sign your art with a lot of flourish and fun to show that you have worked hard at this. I'm going to switch out because there's not a dry corner, but you can either do the left corner or the right corner and just sign your name. You can be nice, and then I'm going to do 3, 20, 20. So sign your art, and then take a picture of it and like this video below and go post it on the Oak Meadow Elementary PTA. It's Oak Meadow PTA, I think, and you'll do hashtag Saddle Up Mabs or hashtag Rooted Oak Meadow, and we cannot wait to see your artwork. I'm so excited about it. And let's comment on each other's art and give everybody encouragement and tell them they did a great job. Encourage yourself and encourage your friends. And I really look forward to seeing you guys in the classroom again. Thank you.